And they said, well, you know, if you're interested, you can come along if you've got things to sell.
Right.
Well, we thought about it, and then I thought, well, one thing we did have, we bought a few times and done a couple of boot fairs with, were 3D photographs of all sorts of things, you know, a band or a film star, something like that.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd give it a go. Anyway, we did, and we did that for about 6 months over a sort of a winter period. And I used to, when we got there about 7 in the morning at the weekend, Saturday and Sunday mornings, it was freezing cold, and there's no heating on until someone puts some electric fires on.
Yeah.
So it was cold. So anyway, it turned out to be a very good few months. And after a while, someone said to me, why don't you go? Why don't you play your guitar outside?" It was that kind of environment.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I had done something similar some years ago. I can't remember where that was. So I thought, yeah, I'll give it a go. And so I stood outside. It was a bit, it was outside my comfort zone. It's not like being on the stage.
Yeah.
And I just started singing songs. Again, because I played with other people, I jammed with them before. I had quite a good repertoire. I still have quite a good repertoire of well-known songs.
Yeah.
And I put a little cap down there, or little bucket thing, and
Yeah.
people did put money in. And I
Oh,
never made very much. I suppose I was out there for an hour each time,
yeah.
and you got between £5 and £10. So I then went and bought a cup of coffee in the local Costa just around the corner, and I got to know a very nice girl in there who served me most times. Her name was Bethany, and again from that came another of my songs, "OMG Bethany," "Oh my God Bethany." She was a
Oh,
lovely, lovely girl. So again, I always like to capitalize if something gives me an idea for a
for a song.
song, even a title. I will use it because, as I've often said before, I think all of my songs are about real people, real situations. They're not kind of made up.
No.
So I find that helps me to come up with the ideas. But yeah, I did busk, and it was outside my comfort zone. But looking back, I think it was a great experience
Yeah.
to have on my music CV. Really,
I suppose you conquer your fear there, don't you? You sort of do eliminate
yeah,
that sort of like a barrier that's there in your head or whatever it is. And when you take that step, you sort of conquer it, and that's the end
yeah,
of it. And and you can do that process again and again and again. And I suppose that's what like big singers and songwriters. I suppose that's the same thing. That's what's the same method that they do, because nerve is something that everybody has. I presume. I mean, nobody's naturally wanting to, perform to a large crowd um, every time. I mean, you might want to do it once, but every time like that, you do need some sort of mechanism to then conquer whatever
yeah,
nerve
yeah.
might have. Different people have different things, but there's a question that I've been wanting to put through to you, Trevor. Discombobulated. Where did that come from?
Well, it's
It's always
quite
bugged me.
quite simple. Quite simple. It was a word you don't often hear it used. You hear it used a bit more nowadays. People do suddenly say it when they're being interviewed, "Oh, I was discombobulated." But it's a word, I don't know why, but I always liked the word. I mean, I've always liked different words.
Right.
I suppose that's why I write songs and poems and things. But I always liked that. And then I thought one day, well, that'll give me a challenge to write a song called Discombobulated. 6 syllables, and not easy to sort of suddenly build that into a song, or so I thought at the time. So yeah, I had the tune, as often happens when you've got a word like that, a tune sort of, and I was sort of going da, 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 with discombobulated, and that first couple of lines came straight away, and I built it around a little story,
Yeah.
again, of a person who in the local McDonald's, where sometimes I used to go, she was very sweet, always excellent service.
Yeah.
And so I built it around this girl. I can't remember her name now, but I don't think it appears in the song. But
No.
I don't think it appears in the song. But
Oh,
again, I need almost to be writing about something real
oh,
to be able to write the song. And it was only afterwards I realised the first five letters of Discombobulated are disco, and I thought that's quite neat because it
mhm.
is a good upbeat song.
Yeah,
Where you can dance as if no one's watching you, sort of thing,
yeah, yeah.
and hold the hairbrush as the microphone. So yeah, that's where Discombobulated came from. I like to have something a bit different sometimes about my song titles. I mean, another one was Cowabunga Dude.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. I mean, I read that somewhere. I can't remember where, but I looked up what it meant, and it means sort of a lucky guy sort of thing.
All
So
right.
I wrote that song,
Right.
and
I can't
built
remember who it
medleys on that
was
song.
that was doing
Sorry.
it. Was it Diane, Dina, or Madeline? And they sort of said to me, how do you design a cover for that? And I'm thinking, I'm glad it's not my job.
And another one, of course, another phrase I read it a few times
Yeah.
was "bow chicka wow wow," which is
Yeah.
probably not the sort of thing we would discuss in our podcast as to the meaning, but it's just obviously human interaction. And again, sometimes a good title lends itself to almost instantly to a good catchy tune, an idea. So, and again, I built that around someone I know, and things that happened and happen sometimes. Yeah, so that was another good title that I like. So yeah, I like different song titles.
Wow. So yeah, I had to listen to it and I thought, is he just had a meeting with the Queen, and he just had a meeting with the Queen and Prince Charles.
Not quite, not quite.
Same thing I thought when I had to listen to Cowabunga. And I'm thinking, huh, I wonder who he's been talking to lately.
Have you heard the expression before then? You hadn't heard
No,
it before?
I don't think I have. I don't think,
No.
but I had to Google it when I saw it. I saw, I saw the title and I thought, right, I'm gonna Google it and see what it's about. Cowabunga. Yeah. I mean, it's it's a blessing, isn't it? If you're able to write from just things, because when you think about the industry, I'm talking about the mainstream music industry, right? So they've got team of songwriters, right? So they've got a team of
Yeah.
songwriters, and they've got a team of vetters. So these vetters would listen to what these songwriters have written, and they'd say, well, you know what, we don't want that, we don't want this, we don't want it, don't sound, because it's all about what's commercially, what's that word, commercially viable, or
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
yeah, it's about what sells commercially, because they're all about making money. They're not about the creativity side of things, are they? I mean, it does come out in the end, or maybe
Mm.
the audience does give them the credit for that. But I think what they're thinking is, how do we're going to make money from this, right? So we're going to try to make it as sellable as possible. But when it comes to like people like you and I, we sit down there and we go, right, that's a good idea. And then we start writing, and then we
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
writing. Yeah. And sometimes you sit back and you